The UC San Diego joint study is thought to be the first to connect climate change, specifically drought and overpopulation, to the fall of the Old World Assyrian Empire in 7th century BCE, and eerie parallels found between ancient climate change and current conditions in Southern California may offer lessons to help modern cities avoid the same fate. Here to explain how is co-author of the study, anthropologist, my guest, Adam Schneider. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Now, you're not saying that drought and overpopulation was the sole cause of the Assyrian Empire's fall.
No, not at all. What we're suggesting is that they were background factors that helped to create instability that, along with other political and economic factors together, brought about the collapse of the Assyrian state.
Okay, and your research actually connects recently published climate data found on ancient clay tablets, right? When were those tablets found, and what'd they say?
So it's kind of a funny story. My co-author, Dr. Selim Adala of Bilkent University in Ankara, Turkey, he came to me with this tablet that he was working on. It was written by an astrologer, and it was written to a famous Assyrian king named Ashurbanipal. And the astrologer was replying to Ashurbanipal's query about the meaning of certain disastrous events. And one of them was this drought that he references. And if you don't mind me reading the quote.
Yeah, please, see what it says here.
The astrologer says, "And about this year's rains that were diminished, and that no harvest was reaped, this is a good omen for the life and well-being of the king my lord." So he's spinning this disastrous lack of harvest that was caused apparently by a lack of rainfall as something that was actually good for Ashurbanipal in some way.
But it ended up not being good.
Well, we certainly think so, yeah.
Okay, you're an archaeologist, an anthropologist, and a paleoclimatologist. What impact did you find in the ancient empire's climate change that might be the same kind of impact that we face here in Southern California today?
Well, the issue for the Assyrian Empire was that they lived in a semi-arid place, as we do. And like people in Southern California today, their primary source of water was very far away from their homeland. They had to build canals that were 100, 150 kilometers in some cases of canals and other hydroengineering projects to bring water from the mountains to the north and east. And in a way, if you massively blow up the scale, Los Angeles, San Diego are very similar because we're taking water out of the Colorado River, out of the mountains in the Sierra Nevada, and that's how we're trying to overcome our own relatively limited water supply that's local.
And would you say that this information, this historical information, could help San Diego and high-density cities? And if so, how would you translate that?
Well, I mean, in terms of anything practical, it's not necessarily the most useful data they could find. But as far as an object lesson is concerned, pointing out that when you don't deal with these problems, when you sort of sit on them and wait and hope that everything works out for the best and you don't conserve water actively, we can see the economic impacts that occur for a major urban area in the past. And so what they do tell us is that it's really important for us to actively try to conserve water, to go out of our way to do everything we can to protect ourselves against drought, because we don't want to end up with the problems the Assyrians had economically and politically with overpopulation and not enough water to feed people, or excuse me, to give people the crops they need and all those sorts of things.
In order to feed them, right? That's
exactly
where the overpopulation came in, for the supplies to be able to feed them and give them water. Do you think that today's climate change is more severe, the same, or how is it different than the ancient climate change?
Well, first of all, I will say this is a little bit outside of my specialization, but since you ask me, my feeling is there are differences. Yes, the Earth has had fluctuations in its climate, short-term ones, over the last 10,000 years or so since the end of the last ice age. But this is an unprecedented level of warming, the speed and the scale of it. And this is why the IPCC and other groups have become so alarmed about the anthropogenic climate change we see now. And so it's difficult to predict precisely how it will impact our region or the Near East. But I think it's safe to say that it's a different ball game than looking at minor fluctuations over a period of 40 years. If anything, it tells us that because these minor fluctuations could be so catastrophic, we really should think about what could happen when we're doing something that's even more significant to the climate.
Okay. Well, UC San Diego anthropologist Adam Schneider, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.